So somebody asked me this question. They said, should I always look for people in the HR department to get gigs? And I remember years ago when people would say, well, when I would look up, like, how do I get gigs? How do I get these speaking gigs? I'd ask people would say like, oh, contact the HR department. Oh, contact maybe the sales department. And they would say like all this stuff, right? And I thought, okay, HR, it makes sense. These are the people in charge of like the HR stuff, whatever they do in HR. And so I thought to myself, all right, it made sense at the time. Well, the problem is that this is a really, really big myth, a huge myth in terms of contacting the HR department, because there isn't any one person in any company that's in charge of the events unless it is a big company and they have their own event team. So there are big companies, like a lot of MLM companies have like their own event team. There are companies like Salesforce, which has like their own event team because they put on so many events throughout the year that it makes sense for them to have an event team. But most companies, just most places in general, don't have a full event team because they don't do that many events. They'll do like an event every quarter or maybe just once a year for their big annual employee event or something. So there isn't any one person in a company. So what you have to do is you have to think in terms of, what do I need to say to get to a person that can bring me in? Now you're saying, well, if there isn't a person who's in charge, then how do I get to a person who's not in charge? So it comes down to this. Here's how it works inside of companies. Well, here's how it works inside of whenever people are looking for speakers. They plan the event. They say, hey, we're going to have this event. Then they essentially just pick someone who's in charge. The bigger the company is, the more likely they're going to have a person in charge of the territory to pick the speaker. So if it's like a big event or whatever, they say, all right, you're the person in charge of the territory. You're going to basically delegate to people. And this person delegates to someone saying, hey, who wants to be in charge of bringing in the speakers? That's kind of what they do. They're like, who wants to be in charge of bringing in the speakers? You. All right, Jane, you're going to be in charge of bringing in the speakers. And that's how it works with a lot of companies. The smaller companies where they don't have like their own event team or anything like that, they literally just pick people. They just say, all right, you're going to be in charge. And that's all they do. With the big events where they have their own team, there is someone in charge, and it's really easy to get to them because usually they have hey, this person's in charge of all the events. So it's really easy to get to them. Basically, you want to think that it's not about one department that's in charge. It's more about what are you going to do to get to the person you need to get to. And one of the things that I would do is I would contact the people who are higher up on the food chain. So the higher up someone is, the more they're used to delegating, and the more likely they know who they need to delegate to. And so what happens is when you send an email to this higher up person and you say, hey, VP, I was wondering who's in charge of the events that you do. I noticed that your event, Sales 101 that you guys do at the end of the year, who's in charge of that? Who should I talk to? And they're used to delegating. So they'll say, oh, Jane is in charge of that. You want to talk to her. Now, when you go to Jane and you say, Jane, I was talking with the VP and he told me that you're in charge. What's Jane going to do? She's going to pay really close attention to you because it sounds like you were recommended by the VP or whoever her boss is. It sounds like you were recommended by that person. And so they're going to pay a lot more attention to you. That was like a little trick that I used to do all the time where it seemed like they would recommend me and they just pay more attention, right? What you have to do is you have to build a process. You build a pipeline that you walk people through or that you go through to find the right person for the event and then to get them to hire you. That's what you're doing. It's not any one department. It's anybody could be the person who hires you. And any speaker who's gotten a lot of gigs, they will tell you the same thing. There is no one person in a department or in a company. There is no one person unless it's a big company like Salesforce where they do multiple events and they literally have an event team. And so you got to think, okay, you have to build your process. If you don't have a process, by the way, just get Event Finder or join the Speak Pro Academy. And the process is right there where it's just like, hey, here, step by step, here's the email templates. But you have to think along the lines of building a process of I'm going to send this email or I'm going to make this call. And then this is going to get me to the right person that I need to talk to. That's what you need to do if you're going to be getting on stages. By the way, if you like this video, make sure you like it, share it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, everything, and share and subscribe.